This is Dan Schneider. On this Dan Schneider video interview, I'm talking to one of my old buddies 50 plus years ago. Over 50 years we've known each other.
Yeah,
Mark
that's
Taylor,
something
we're
that
going to talk
is.
about his gig feeding the homeless in New York, or the foodless, maybe the foodless and the homeless, but we'll talk about that and get back to you after this little break. Over the years, anyone who's looked at Cosmoetica has seen a few people that I've interviewed a few times. Over 20 years ago, I interviewed Mark Taylor when I was doing an internet radio show about his books about soul music from the 50s, 60s, 70s. Then, about a decade ago, I interviewed Mark for a series I was doing for my Cosmoetica website called Biorama. Mark is one of my oldest friends. We haven't seen each other physically for 50 years, but that's got to
Years.
change sometime before one of us drops dead.
Yeah,
And so this is our annual decade get together online, I guess. But this time
that's gonna
it's
change too.
for a cause because with all the stuff happening in the world and here in the U.S. with Trump, and just recently with the cuts to SNAP benefits by the Republicans and the cowardly Democrats that caved into them. Mark has been for a decade running a charity in New York that helps to feed the homeless, and I thought it was important, and I wanted to talk with my buddy here for 40 or more minutes, just to find out what's doing. So, welcome to Mark. Mark, your website is called With Actions and in Truth. You've been doing it for about a decade. Let me just ask you, how did you get into that?
Initially, this started from my church. They had a sandwich ministry, and they used to make sandwiches and take them down to men's shelter in Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
Hmm.
And then that went dormant for a while. And then men's ministry in my church, we started that back up again. I'm going to say that was 2014. And we just decided four guys going to get together, put X amount of money into it once a month. And we would hit a couple of shelters in Queens and then go to Brooklyn. And the main person, his name is Dwight Nelson, who was heading it. He is things kind of changed for him, and he had to leave. So it kind of just fell apart. And one day in this like late spring, summer of 2015, it just hit me. Hey, pick this back up. It's like you know where to go to get the food and the bread and everything. You know where to go as far as the shelters. And so I did it just sporadically for here and there for a while, a couple of months, and then. One day, it was actually 2016. I was coming home. It was about maybe March or April, and it was just brisk. Not really brutally cold. Winters here are not nowhere near what it was, what they used to be. And someone was outside just sitting by a Starbucks, and you could tell the person was homeless. And said, "Wow, it is. I'm cold. I'm getting ready to go home to a nice warm apartment, but this person's going to be out here all night." I said, "Well, okay. It's one thing to feed the people in the shelters because what." At worst case, they do have a roof over their heads, but this person's going to be out there. So I decided, what, let me just start actually hitting the streets and, hitting people when you see a homeless or just really looking kind of jacked up. The first time I did it in Midtown Manhattan, I was, there's a nervousness to it. And it literally took me 4 hours to get rid of 80 sandwiches. Just having that, that reserve as far as approaching somebody and asking, hey, do you need something to eat, and not knowing what kind of response you're going to get. The following week, I put it on Facebook, and the following week, a friend of mine who I used to work with, he said, hey, if you need somebody, I'll roll with you, and he did, and that cut the 4 hours into 2 hours, and then just continuing doing it now. I can move that volume in half hour. Sometimes when it's brutally cold, they'll let the homeless hang out in Penn Station. And if one sees you giving food to another one, they'll just approach you. And there were times when I've taken a Long Island Railroad train to Penn Station, got there maybe 10:20 with, two suitcases full of sandwiches. And I was on a 10:40 train heading back to Queens. It moved that quickly.
Hmm.
Um, and it really just took off from there.
Yeah. First off, what is the name of the church that you were involved with? Because I know I was a little surprised. I didn't find out that you were raised a Roman Catholic because we knew each other from the Protestant Lutheran
Yeah.
elementary school. So what church were you involved with at this time when you got into this?
St. Albans Congregational Church. It's in Jamaica.
Ah,
We call it the Triangle Church.
yeah.
But that's yeah, St. Albans Congregational Church, and that's been my church since okay, I'm gonna say late 2005, early
Mm.
2006, and yeah, we just did. I mean, the church has a food pantry once a month, but so four of us decided, hey, we don't want to interfere with the pantry. We'll just put a little bit of money into this every month, get whatever we can, make the sandwiches. They My guy, he had a team that made the sandwiches and the fruit juice and the fruit and put that all together Friday night. Fridays run good for me. So that was done Friday night. And he would tell me if you got a good assembly line going, they were in and out of there in about an hour.
Hmm.
And Saturday, we would meet at the church, bag everything up, take the church van, and head on out.
Yeah. See, I was under the impression when you had mentioned this. Because we have conversed, a number of times in the years
Yeah.
before, other than publicly like this. I was under the impression though that this was something that you did once or twice a month, and that it was you're just being your natural good self. I had no idea that you had a website and it was it was growing, and this was a movement. So. What I mean, obviously, you want to feed people. Have you partnered with other groups in New York or Long Island or Jersey or Yonkers or something? How big? How connected is there this web?
Uh, there are, it's like virtually every church in Southeast Queens has some form of a food pantry. I mean, these people obviously know where to go. I mean, I'm just out there Saturday and sometimes Sunday, depending on my volume.
Hmm.
So these people know, okay, hey, this church here, you can get something to eat at lunchtime on Monday, and this one here, Tuesday and Thursday. So these people are well connected as far as where to go to get something to eat. Obviously, I'm just doing it on the weekend, so it's like, well, what else do they do during the week?
Hmm.
Um, but these people having to actually come to the church or facility to get a meal, whereas I'm actually out there and in times streets or locations where I really have no business being on. There is a danger involved,
Yeah.
uh, and so I haven't, so that's I haven't really hooked up with other organizations, so to speak. I There was an organization that has come under me at one time, and they were doing it for a while. As far as an existing organization, I mean, there are times when I've helped out with other organizations, but so far as saying, "Hey, let's get together and let's do this," that hasn't happened. I mean, there's times when it's come close to happening, but it's like, okay, well, I do this on weekends, and weekends are bad for you. You do this Tuesday night. Well, I can't do this Tuesday because I work Tuesday. So things have happened. It's on the agenda. It's even been suggested, hey, link up with other organizations because people come and people go as far as helping me sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes people say, oh yeah, I want to go with you when you go out and feed the homeless, and they get gung ho for a while, and or some people will say, yeah, come let me know when you're making the sandwiches, putting the packages together. They get gung ho for a while, and then they fall off. And then someone said to me, he says, well, you're dealing with somebody who may have a passion for it for a while, but if you link up with an organization, you're dealing with people who are not going to fall off. They're as passionate about it as you are. So that's kind of in the works. In my community, I've had once a month, people will come to the community center. I would bring the materials to the community center, and we would knock off 300 sandwiches in maybe an hour.
Hmm.
So we're probably going to, we did that a couple of months this year. We're probably going to start that up in January again.
So over the
So
decade or more that you've done this, or decade or so, uh, year by year, I mean, have things gotten worse? Then they get a little bit better, up and down. Have you noticed things like because Trump had his 4 years, did things get a little better under Biden, or did they say the same? And in the Trump 2 this last year, have things gone down? Because again, I mentioned earlier about the SNAP benefits, and it seems like you might have a lot more people in need.
yeah, it's I haven't really seen a change. Ironically, when I was doing it steadily through, let's say, the beginning of 2020, and then COVID hit, I shut down. I mean, it was like, okay, well, this thing is sounds like this might be kind of serious.
Yeah.
And as somebody said to me, said, Mark, these people do have compromised immune systems. You don't need to be doing this until we kind of get a hold on this. So for about a year and a half or so, I shut down. When I went back out in 2021, it was worse than what I had left
Yeah.
in 2020.
Mm.
And you know, it's like you can't really tell if it's gotten worse because, like, for example, if there's a basketball game or a concert or a hockey game at Madison Square Garden, you'll notice that Penn Station is considerably cleaner than when it is, that Penn Station Madison Square Garden area is considerably cleaner than when nothing's happening. So it's not like things have gotten better. Oh, okay, well, things have gotten better. Everybody's found a place to live and back on their feet. But no, that just means that the authorities came in and just moved them away for that time period. It's the same when this time of year when, New York is a big tourist attraction for the holiday season. So again, certain areas for somebody to come visit, say, okay, well, New York is not that bad. I'm not seeing as many homeless, but they just moved them someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as is it worse, not you could say that. I mean, every year I have distributed more packages than the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as to say, has it gotten better or worse? Was it better under Trump when I first, the 4 years I did it when Trump was in office, or the 4 years, well, three if you subtract the COVID year, when Biden was in, and now is it getting worse? Really, it's about the same as far as actually seeing people who are, literally in the street.
So, have you applied for like tax? Are you a taxable charity or untaxed charity now? Or do you get solicitations or any help from people of means, or is it still just sort of a handful of people that are dedicated?
As far as donations, I mean, this is really 100% run uh, on independent donations. I mean, I donate myself. I'm still the biggest donor,
Mm-hmm.
but usually around the end of the year, when people looking for a tax write-off. I do have 501c3 certification,
Uh-huh.
so if somebody donates, they do get the tax write-off. So at the end of the year, that's when donations really pile in, and that kind of carries me through a good chunk of the year because throughout the year, funds filter in here and there, but I really get my biggest haul near the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and that would kind of carry me through. So yeah, I mean, there's sometimes people, every time I see them, they're putting money in my hands, or somebody will do a Facebook fundraiser and turn it over to me. So things like that. As far as grant money, I haven't. That's just one animal that I'm completely foreign to as far as writing grants. I mean, you can always hire a grant writer.
Mm-hmm.
They don't come cheap, and you have to pay them whether you get the grant or not. And some entities, like a Costco or something, they'll donate to the cause. But if they don't donate to someone doing it week to week, it's like if I say, okay, well, March 25th, uh, we're going to feed 2,000 people in New York. Something like that, if it's a one-day event or a major event, something like that, then they might donate to that.
Mm-hmm.
But so far as saying, okay, well, no, I'm just out here, week by week or twice a week doing this, not necessarily. I mean, I've gotten companies that have donated socks, which is a huge boost because, these people know they can get a meal from somewhere. I mean, even if they have to stand in line for 2 hours, they can get a meal from somewhere. Socks is another story. I've never been turned down for socks, and
I mean, literally, we donate. My wife and I every month or so. Some of our older clothing, and usually it's good. For example, I just bought some non-slip socks because a friend of mine who I think I might have mentioned, he had some young fellas I know did a documentary of poetry on him. He was 67. He slipped in his bathtub and died. And I had an incident a few weeks ago where I slipped, and I've had a couple of hernias, and I'm like, I'm getting too old, so I decided to buy non-slip socks. So all my regular socks, which are in good shape, I put in a big bag, and they're going to be picked up, in a week or two by this for homeless veterans. So,
Yeah,
that's I do that kind of thing. And you're right. You don't really necessarily. You think, okay, well, we can give food and maybe give a blanket, but things like a socks
yeah,
are very valuable, and that's one of those things you don't think of.
yeah. I mean, you wear a pair of socks, they take, you throw them in a hamper, you wash them in that step. These people don't, they wear socks until they just cannot wear them anymore. And even sometimes when people will give me socks and donate to them, I'll tell them, don't break the bank buying socks, because no matter how great the quality is, if I see these people a week from now, they're gonna need socks again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are people who I give, and the same people. It's like, hey, okay, thanks for food. Yeah, you got socks. You got socks. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Let's keep this uniform. Let's do the food first. Okay, now here's a pair of socks. Here you go. But they, yeah, the socks go fast.
So let me just ask a few things, just to sort of step back a little bit, um, uh, because of the situation the country is in right now. For someone watching this at some point in the future, let me just ask you, what is your general view about charities? I'm one of those people that I think that a society that depends on charities is a society that has failed in its responsibility to its citizens. I think when you pay taxes, when I pay taxes, when everyone who could watch this, we're paying taxes, we don't want the money to be wasted on frivolous gold stuff in the White House, or a new $100 million ballroom, or whatever the hell is going to be. We don't want it being wasted on frivolous things. I mean, I'm a believer that the government has one responsibility, and that's to provide for its citizens that which the citizen cannot reasonably provide for themselves. That's military defense. That's constabulary, cops, law and order. That's food, health insurance, these kinds of things. When people, Social Security, Medicare, when people get to a point where they're too old, or they're too frail, or they're too ill, that's where I think the government should step in, not charities. Because if you have to depend on charities, they're not legally required to do anything. And if the charity doesn't have enough volunteers, they can't do it. What is your take, just as a person, as a citizen of this country, on the idea of charities, and what that says about a society?
I think charities are necessary just because of the reality that the government is not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you talked about SNAP and so many people losing their benefits, and just on Facebook alone, there's a local group for Queens, and they're constantly posting pop-up pantries, or free or free turkey giveaway. And it's not just because it's seasonal. I mean, things always pick up at Christmas and at Thanksgiving and Christmas, but um, it's like, oh, and I see this, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, Saturday at such and such church, and a lot of times it's a small, it's a storefront church, something, they're giving away food, or something, and it's like, okay, well, these they're doing what the government should be doing.
Mm.
And the naysayers say, well, you're just enabling lazy behavior. Um,
Yeah, and it's a veteran who's
some,
missing a leg or something because he's lazy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, somebody sleeping in the park in the pouring rain.
Yeah, because
That's beyond
they
lazy.
really just want to be wet when they're sleeping.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not just about. It's like, okay, well, McDonald's is hiring. I mean,
yeah,
it's and then so there's so much mental issues with so many people, and that's the hand you've been dealt.
yeah.
Not much you can do
The
about
fellow I mentioned, who had the documentary made about himself, he had a traumatic brain injury. He had addiction issues. He had schizophrenia, and it wasn't until he bottomed out and was homeless,
it.
and then got put into an institution, and then the last 40 years of his life, he turned his life around. But he still needed assistance to get
Sure.
certain medicine. But he lived a fruitful and productive life, and it's
Yeah.
like people. I don't understand It's almost like that old saying. I don't know if you ever heard it, that it's not enough for me to succeed, but I need you to fail. It's like a lot of people have that
Yeah.
idea that they're not just satisfied with having a good life themselves, but they resent other people who just aren't as capable in some instances.
Right.
It's like
Right.
weakness. It means, send them off a cliff.
Yeah. 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 Like I said, you never know what hand somebody has been dealt.
Exactly.
This one lady
You
who
know,
I
the old
gave,
saying, you never judge a man until he walked a mile in his shoes.
yeah, yeah, and I've never gotten to a conversation where I've asked these people, okay, how did you end up like this?
Yeah.
It's not for me to know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Things happen. A lot of times you play the hand you're dealt. There's a lady who I gave sandwiches to last Saturday. And I could tell her she's drug dependent. She has drug dependency. I've seen her, plenty of times, along the strip, and I've given her before, and then I saw her Saturday. So okay, whoa, okay, she's pregnant. She's showing. I mean, like really showing. Okay, you're pregnant. You're out here in the streets. Clearly, I can look at you and see that you have a drug dependency. You know, your child. What hand has this child been dealt?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like
And that's
this
just,
is the same people that will all talk about, oh, we want to have every fetus brought to term, or whatnot. And I don't want to get into the abortion argument, but once you're here, they don't give a damn.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot. I mean, that kind of rationale a lot. Okay, once you get here, then you're on your own.
And
Um,
especially if the person looks more like you than they look like me.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's you never, and some people just check out. I mean, some people you're going along and everything is fine. All of a sudden, you lose a job that you've had for 35 years or so,
Yeah.
and everybody has a certain level to which they deal with disappointment, whatever. And if you're one who cannot handle it, you check out, and all of a sudden you just decide, well, okay, well, I'll just live on unemployment or whatever I had saved up with. I'll start whatever I had and borrow. I'll borrow against pension or 401k early, and yeah, and you just keep bottoming out. You just keep bottoming out, and next thing you know, you're homeless.
And people think
It
it can't
happens.
happen to them, and yet
Yeah,
the polls, when you read, they say 70-75% of working Americans, even people sometimes who are making six figures, can't go more than a month without paychecks, without filing for bankruptcy.
yeah, yeah. And that's not even mental illness. That's
Yeah.
just checking out. Sometimes people just check out.
So let me just ask you, because about the issues in the actual distribution. Here we have now a situation for people looking at this years from now, where a lot of brown-skinned Latino people, especially in this country, are being rounded up by ICE, and all kinds of horror stories that you hear. Um, New York City, at least when I was living there and growing up, had a deserved bad reputation. Just watch the movie Serpico or The Goodfellas to know about that era that you and I were children in. Um, have you ever had any issues with distribution issues where cops came up to you and said, "Hey, do you have a permit for this? What are you trying to do?" Or are you you and the people that you work with, are you left to do your good deeds?
I've only had one issue. It was actually Sunday afternoon in Penn Station, where I know. Well, let me back up. I know in some states, cities, whatever, it's against the law to do what I do, to hand out food to
Uh-huh.
homeless. Thankfully, that's not the case in New York. But an officer stopped me in Penn Station one time, and he said, you can't do this. You have to do it outside. And I said, "Is this something new?" And he said, "No, it's always been like this." And I said, "Well, I've been doing this like at least twice a month in here for the last, whatever." So I didn't argue with him. I just went outside. And people I was really getting ready to hand the package to, I said, "Hey, I'm sorry." I said, "Or just, it's okay, follow me outside and I'll give you as many as you want for, whoever's around here." That's the only time I've had an issue with it, as far as any authorities pestering me. I remember once, when I worked in the Rockefeller Center area, I had some packages left over, so I took them to work to hand out around lunchtime. and it was Christmas season, and I don't know if you remember Saks Fifth Avenue. It's like a madhouse around there with
Yeah.
tourists and everything because that and St. Patrick's Cathedral right across the street. And in the corner there was a man who was homeless. He had his sign and everything, and there was a police officer on the corner. I just asked him. I said, can I? Is it right if I give this guy something to eat? And he said, yeah, sure. And it was kind of like, yeah, sure, but why did you even feel the need to ask me? He said, just yeah, go right ahead. But that Penn Station encounter, that was the closest I actually came to being, for choice of a better term, hassled.
Hmm.
I think maybe once I was in the park and somebody might just say, or you with an organization, something like that. But as a whole, I don't have any problems with any authorities, at least for the time being, because it's not illegal.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, and since that time in Penn Station, I've gone back in there and haven't had any problems with any of the officers. I don't do it right in their faces, so I just say, hey, I'm quick. It's like, okay, hey, you need something to eat? Bam, and I'm gone.
Yeah.
Uh,
And is it mostly like just peanut butter sandwiches, or is it some like turkey or
Yes, turkey, cheese,
yeah,
piece of fruit, usually a tangerine, a clementine, mandarin in that family,
yeah,
and a 8 ounce bottle of water. I usually do fruit punch or fruit juice, but you never know who's diabetic.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
everybody loves, especially in the summertime, everybody loves cold water.
Yeah. So, do you stay within the confines of the city, or have you ever gone, to Jersey or to Nassau or upstate, or is it just in the five boroughs?
It's just in the 50 Queens. It's been a good while since Brooklyn, but usually Queens and Manhattan.
Queens and Manhattan. Okay.
Yeah.
And is there just geographically on a map? What are the neighborhoods that seem to be the most in need in either Manhattan or Queens?
Well, in Manhattan, I'm usually in Midtown, anywhere from. Usually, I don't go any further down 23rd Street. Is usually my cutoff point. I've gone up to Grand Central to 42nd Street. The West Side, 7th Avenue, 8th Avenue. That's particularly kind of funky in there. Not too much happening on the East Side.
Uh-huh.
Um, and Queens is like, I'm sorry, Manhattan. It's people. I guess people from all over end up there. Uh, it's not necessarily a particular race or even a particular gender. They just happen to be there. And it's not necessarily everybody who's just holding a sign. Some people are just, walking around really looking really jacked up.
Yeah.
And, you say, hey, you need something to eat. Oh, yeah, yeah, thanks. So that, yeah, it's hard to say where it's, I've asked friends who live in Harlem because I haven't been up there. I just haven't had the resources to do that or the time to do that. Yeah, and I'll ask them, hey, are there areas in here where you have a serious problem? So, oh, yeah, yeah, it's, definitely in the parks or whatever. So, you know, you'd be surprised, even like in Flushing, um, like Main Street Flushing area, you see people there, sitting on the streets, holding a sign or just jacked up. And I've hit them up. Hey, you need something, and they've taken it. So,
Yeah.
uh,
So do you see a lot of people like under highway overpasses? Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you see them all at various stops. Coming off a highway you come off the ramp. They're at the stop there. There are times when I'm not really in a position to slow, to stop, and I'll just, I see somebody and I have them on one side of the car, and I'll just, well, then, hey, you need something to eat? Yeah, and I'll just, throw it, toss it out the window in their direction.
Hmm.
Um,
What changes have you seen in the decade or so that you've been doing this, positive or negative? I mean,
Changes. I guess the change really would be with me. Uh, One is as far as expansion. For several years, I just did Manhattan, and only within recent, I want to say 3 years, have I started doing Queens. Ironically, I live in
hmm,
Queens, and just seeing more and more what they need. Initially, it was just the food, and then uh, no one really asked me for socks unless it was raining. They're out there in the rain, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have anything." Uh, and then it's like, okay, well, let's start taking some socks. And then I got a haul from Hanes, Hanes underwear. There's the
Yeah.
socks as well. So I started taking socks, and they sent me maybe about 1,500 pairs of socks. You gave some to the shelters, but some I was actually like literally stuffing some in a duffel bag and taking them with me. And then a friend of mine suggested, she bought me stuff, like hygiene kits, those little travel packs of deodorant and shampoo. And I'm listening, like, yeah, I do food and now I'm doing socks. I said, I don't want to be, I'm not a walking store. I can't do that. But she sent it. I said, okay, well, yeah, send it to me and I'll see what I can do. So I bagged it up and and it went in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, wow, okay, they need this. Somebody has given me sleeping bags. Um, so it's like whatever I go out there with, it goes, it moves. I never have a problem moving it. As the weather's getting ready to change now, some people will give me hats, and they go fast. Someone gave me actually someone at my job gave me hats, and you can buy like a dozen or two off of Amazon or something like that. They're not that pricey. Uh, and they went like 10 or 15 minutes. I didn't even wait till Monday. I called it. I texted her Saturday. Said, hey, those hats you gave me, I just got rid of all of them. And she came back maybe about a year or so later. Says, we were talking about. She says, oh, do you need more hats? I'm like, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, whatever you can, whatever you can. But yeah, it's like, these people need hats. And sometimes, you give them out and next week they're saying, no, that hat I had, I misplaced it. Somebody stole it. Hats. One time myself, my lady friend, and a couple of friends of hers, they cleaned out their closets and bought and got rid of a bunch of coats in the Long Island Railroad. It was about 20 degrees out that day. And they were all congregated in one spot where the Long Island Railroad leads to where you can catch a shuttle to JFK Airport. And they went in like 5 or 10 minutes. So there's nothing that these people turn down, and it's not greed. I mean, very, very rarely do I see greed. In fact, usually I offer somebody two. It's like, okay, this isn't gonna last you all day. Here's take two packages. This way you're good for the day.
Yeah.
And they might say, no, just give me one. I'm good because you might see somebody 2 blocks from now and you don't have anything left.
Yeah.
So they're not greedy. They're not greedy.
When I was a kid, I lived on the Brooklyn Queens border in Bushwick and Ridgewood, and
Yeah.
I used to play with the homeless kids back in when I was 4, 5, 6 years old when we were in
Wow.
kindergarten, and
Yeah.
there were people at that time didn't believe that there were homeless living in the subways and the sewers, but
Right.
they were.
Yeah. It wasn't
And
fashionable. Yeah.
that's one of the things that always stuck out with me is that there wasn't this me hoarder thing. It's like
Mhm.
you see that in rich people. Rich people can never get
Yeah.
enough. They have to
Yeah.
have 3 cars, and then they need a fourth car, or they need a jet boat, or they need a 10th diamond ring or something. But you don't see that with the poor, and I think that's one of the things that you get. Back 30 years ago when Reagan was, or 40 years ago when Reagan was talking about welfare queens and all this shit.
Hmm.
Well, yes, you're going to have some people who will do that, but it's not the people who are the most in need. A con artist is a con artist, but most of these
Right.
people,
Yeah.
just like we've said, bottomed out, and that was my experience 50 years ago, and it sounds like it's still the same today.
Yeah. 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 Like I said, these people are not greedy. And one thing for me that stands out is these people don't live month to month, week to week. They live like hour to hour.
Yeah.
I'll say, hey, you need something to eat, and say, no, I'm good. I just ate.
Mm.
And they don't have the wherewithal to think, well, you know what? I'm going to be hungry 5 or 6 hours from now, and this guy's nowhere going to be nowhere to be found. So let me just take 1 second. I'll take it for later. So they don't have that mentality. It's like they live minute to minute.
And I know there's
This thing
another
is, I'm not hungry now.
And another thing too, I know is that not where I work, but I've known that other people who've worked for companies when they give to local food shelters here in Texas, another thing that's in high demand is toilet paper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
what are you gonna, you have to be a little bit more sanitary too. I mean, yeah, you can get maybe some running water somewhere if there's a local shop, or if there's one of those plastic toilets on a street corner or something. But these are the kind of things people don't think about. Let me just ask you about the recent election now with Zoran Mamdani having won the mayoralty. What is your sense? I mean, number one, were you a supporter of him? And I'm not trying to judge him. And do you think that things will get better in the city because he was elected, or not, or what? What's your view that way?
The consensus, mine, and I kind of fall in line with the consensus, is that a lot of what he talks about doing or what he wants to do, it's like, okay, where are you going to get the money from? It's already been shut down. He said the buses, he's talking about people can ride the buses for free. And the governor already said, no, that's not going to happen. So, it seemed that the last couple of mayoral elections, it was like, okay, who's the lesser evil?
Yeah, it's always that way, it seems.
Which is, yeah, yeah. I mean, nobody's okay. This is my guy, and I think with him, it's kind of like a wait and see attitude
Yeah.
as far as what's he's going to do, what's actually going to fly. Um, so far as him being, Muslim, I could care less about that. I mean, that's about, it's about, who you are with your character. I'm a little concerned about his youth. He's only 34 years old. But I mean, he won overwhelmingly.
Mm-hmm.
So I I don't think I'm gonna see less of a homeless situation in the 4 years that he's gonna be in office. You're always gonna have it, and I think it's some other people who I've talked to have felt the same way that you need to address this mental health situation.
Yeah.
You take somebody off the street and you put them someplace, and if they have health issues, mental health issues that are not being addressed, they're going to wind up right back on the street. And you can pass judgment on them and say, okay, well, we tried to help you, we couldn't, but if you have mental health issues, that's what needs to be dealt with.
Mm-hmm. So now that we had a government shutdown for what was 39 or 40 days or whatever it
Yeah.
was,
Mm-hmm.
and there was the pitting of people living on SNAP benefits for food against those who are dependent upon the Obamacare ACA medical stuff, and of course, you know. The Republicans do whatever the hell they want. They don't give a damn about the consequences. The Democrats never stand up for anything.
Mm-hmm.
What is your sense about however many years left, 3 years, I guess, on the Trump administration? Do you think things are going to get worse? In terms of the people at the bottom, or what is your sense that way?
I see things getting worse. I mean, just every day something happens, and it's kind of like, wow, you know. And I mean, there's no stop to what he wants to do. Nobody cares at all about the common person or someone on Snap. Somebody says, "Oh, I saw somebody on Snap. They were eating steak. I saw them buying steak, something like that." When I was coming up, the poor people they ate pinto beans 5 days a week. I mean, come on. I mean, yes, there's always someone getting SNAP who doesn't deserve it. Somebody getting Medicaid who doesn't deserve it. But that's a lame duck excuse. I think it's pathetic that they go into all of these lengths so that people cannot get SNAP. Uh,
Uh,
I mean, you're going to court and going to appeals court so that people can't eat.
yeah.
I think it's sad.
The right to
It's
starve.
pathetic. It's sad, it's pathetic, and as far as some people, how much do you need? Like I said, some people they're blessed that you play the hand you're dealt. Some people have the hand where everything is laid out for them. Okay, this is where you're going to go to school. This is where you're going to go to college. This is what you're going to do. If that's all played out, it's all laid out for them. And then you have others who, you know, mom's a junkie, daddy's an alcoholic. chances of you being prosperous, it's slim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
and
I don't see it getting better. And I guess, okay, well, we'll see what happens with the midterms. I mean, Democrats, everybody was whoop-de-doing last week when, okay,
yeah,
Democrat won New York and Jersey and Virginia and a lot of others, Prop 50 passed and a lot of other things. Then you turn around and now all of a sudden you have 8 Democrats caving in
yeah,
uh, regarding the shutdown. So, you get a little victory and then you get 2 or 3 more setbacks. So,
yeah.
I don't think there's ever going to be a situation where I'm going to have a difficulty moving if I go out with, 150 sandwich packets, I don't think there's ever going to be a problem where I have trouble moving them because there's no longer a homeless situation.
Yeah. Now I'm going to link to with actions and intruth.com, your website, so people can contact you. Um, let's just, before I wrap up, just ask a couple of more questions though.
Sure.
Uh, what is the future of the organization? Not in terms of what you're doing and bringing stuff out there, but do you hope to maybe grow online because you do have an online presence? What would you say to people who go to your website or do what can they do to help your organization?
Uh, Donations always help. Uh, I mean, my mentor told me a long time ago, you're doing God's work. Don't hound people for money, and I don't. But the financial donations always help. Um, uh, Product always helps, whether it's even if it's like okay, and I'll be honest with you, the donations that come in that goes for the food, the turkey meat, the cheese, the bread, the water, the fruit. As far as socks, uh, I pick that out of pocket
Mm,
actually, and even the hygiene kits. I mean, they're pricey to put together. I do 30 at a time. That comes out of pocket unless somebody will say to me, okay, hey, the drugstore near me is closing and everything is like 10 cents, whatever. I'm gonna, get that up and get it to you. But other than, I mean, some people like to just say, oh, I have some old clothes. They want to clean out their closet and give it to me. That I can't really work with. But
yeah.
other than that, um, I'm finding out that there's really no limit or very little limit to what these people need. And um, and what's and the challenges. Like I said, a lot of times it's just me. Sometimes every once in a while it's somebody else. I mean, you should see me out there. I've got a suitcase in one hand, a suitcase in the other. I've got a bag with socks hanging off of one and a bag of men's socks hanging off the other. Uh, Sometimes people go with me, sometimes they don't. But that's not really an issue because I can always get somebody to go with me if need be. But and even UNICEF or United Way, they'll tell you we need more money,
Yeah.
uh, or socks, or even if it's like, hey, send me a gift card to a store where I can go in and buy socks or something like that, or a gift card where I can go into a Walgreens and buy $50 worth of toiletries or something like that for these hygiene kits. I have a friend she's a airline attendant. So she's constantly in that all. She gets me, toiletries from the hotels and things like that. Um, that's really where it's needed the most.
Yeah. So I hope that at some level, you do this out of the goodness of your heart, but I hope that
Oh, sure.
you do keep the receipts and you can write some of this off. I mean, you're not just
Oh, sure. Yeah,
oh,
I
okay,
do.
good,
Yeah.
because I know that you have you work in a field where you're probably making a decent salary living in New York, but I just
This adds up, bro.
yeah,
it,
yeah.
it,
But
it
but
adds
my
up.
yeah my point though is no one's gonna say that you're mistake you for some oligarch. But
No.
Mark, hopefully, even if just 4 or 5 people contact you through an interview like this, you are. I mean, I'm not religious, as you know, but you are doing what you can, as a person, as a citizen of this country, and I just wanted to have what little I can do to help shine a little bit of light on you and people like you. There are probably hundreds, if not a few thousand people or more around the country, and it's in all 50 states. Hell,
Yeah,
it's in
it
all
is.
it's in all 200 or whatever the amount of countries there are too, and people need to just take them. I mean, over the I have a handful of times in my life, found someone who is needy, and most times, it's like you step over the people on the sewer grates. You can't help
Yeah,
everyone, but every
right.
so often you see a mother with a kid, and this, and
Yeah, make
I
that
what I
feel
try to do
nice.
is say, I'll buy you a sandwich, and then buy your kid a sandwich, because
Yeah.
some of these people will use it on drugs, as we've talked,
Sure,
or
sure.
alcohol, or something, and
Yeah.
and most of them do take that, and but with actionsandthetruth.com is the website. Anyone wanting to help Mark be able to help in his small corner of this planet of ours, contact him through there, because you're one of the best people I've ever known, and I
Oh,
have
thank you.
immense love and respect for you.
Likewise, yeah. We gotta shake hands once soon.
Yeah.
It's on my bucket list to get down there.
Yeah, well, I know those guys who did the documentary on the fellow I mentioned earlier are planning on doing on one me in a few years. So I'm gonna have to get up to New York in the next few years too. So
Okay.
uh, anyway, Mark, thanks for talking with me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we'll talk soon, even if it's just reminisce about St. John's.